What is up, you guys? Welcome to season 6, episode 30 of Dualistic Unity with Jackie and Amanda. This was such an amazing, deep, real, raw conversation about just how fucking intense it can be to exist and living with the realities that we don't like, that we don't prefer, that we don't expect, and learning to embrace all of it, all of the pain, all of the heartbreak, frustration, anger, even the joy, and all of the things that we are used to embracing, like all of it together. And it's all you. It's all on the table.
Absolutely. It gets very raw, which is great because we've got our, DU real and DU raw episodes, but those are live and this is pre-recorded. So um, I'm excited to hear what you all are, what were your thoughts, and let's get into it and hope you enjoy. Awesome. Absolutely. Jackie, what I would like to get into today is just the feeling of being overwhelmed, you know, and right before this, right before I hit record, I was just telling Jackie about how I like to handle my feelings myself, and it's not that I can't lean on people, and it's not that I can't share or have someone be there for me, because I'm about to, jump into that a little bit, and have you, Jackie, and have all of you here with me on an emotional day. So nothing went wrong. Nothing is like, I'm not in danger. I'm not, things aren't, it's not that anything is really bad. It's just that I'm feeling incredibly overwhelmed. And it all started like I woke up this morning and I just came back from working a little side gig. So I was on a high, really. I was feeling really great because I made some extra money, and that was awesome. And then I wake up this morning and I go to my mailbox and I check, and I've got like a toll bill from the Department of New York. Right, I've got like the little toll bill, and I've got my regular electric bill for my apartment. And the electric bill, I already was not looking forward to, because it's my electric bill and I live in a shoebox, and I feel like they charge me so much money, and they charge me more than I use in electricity. So for example, if my electric usage was $100, they charge me like 110 just to deliver it. Like, that's their fees. And that feels so wrong. Like, you're charging me more than I even use to deliver something that I paid for. Like, I paid for the electricity, and yet somehow, like, that doesn't include the delivery. Like, it just, and I'm like, well, how do you get electricity without it being delivered? Like, I feel like I'm paying twice. And they're telling me
You
that.
can do pickup. You go and you absorb all of the energy. You go and you light up and you're like this, and you go to your house and you touch your house, and then you have power. And that's how you avoid the fee,
You're so right,
obviously.
Jackie. So there's that. And then I get the Easy Pass bill, and I didn't have an Easy Pass. I was paying by plate, and it was $4.16 for the tolls, and they charge $50 for the fee. So I was already like, damn, that sucks. Oh, but back to the electric bill. It was a lot cheaper than it had been last month, but I also had turned off my heat, and I have just been in like hoodies and 3 layers and 12 fucking blankets, and I've been pretty much living without heat on purpose, because I'd rather have no heat, and reduce my electric bill, because everything on my apartment runs on electricity: the heat, the phone, the internet, the charging of the phone, the internet, the TV, the cooking, the refrigerator, everything runs on electric, right? And so, like, I can't really reduce the use of electricity for cooking, the fridge, and working and being on my computer, but I could get rid of the heat. And so I was like, okay, so we turn off the heat, and that does help. And so it took off like $100 off my monthly bill, which was great, even though I'm like living like, like crazy. It's crazy that I went without heat on purpose. And so then I was like, oh, that's good. It worked. And I was feeling good about that electric bill, because it was like, oh, they are robbing me. But we worked it out. It's not so bad this month. And then I go to pay the fucking easy pay bill and it's $54 for a $4 toll. They're charging me $50 just for the fee. And so I go to the website and there's two other fees of like $6 total and like another $200 in fees. And so I just paid like $300 for like $20 in tolls. And I was just like, we've got it, right? Like it's not like the money wasn't there to pay for this. And, you know, it just felt like, why is it set up this way? This makes no sense. Then it felt like, fuck, it's all on me. And then it was like, I felt so alone. And then it was like, okay, we're not in danger. You know, we still have a place, we still have a job, we still have all these things, and we are still so fully capable of doing all of this. But it just felt like this fucking sucks. And then I thought, right, and I feel so alone, but then I was thinking about that piece and I was like, yeah, but even if somebody was here right now, I would still be alone in all these feelings. Even if somebody paid for it, even if somebody did anything, like that's not actually new, you know? And so it was like, okay, there's just a lot. And so I was like, it feels like so much because it feels like I'm not any of those other things. Like I am a part of this society that tends to make it so incredibly difficult. I helped make all of that. That's a reflection of what I prioritize. Like as much as it feels like it's just me, everything isn't really different. Damn, I need a tissue. It just felt like so much. And then I just reminded myself like nothing's actually different than it was 5 minutes ago. Pre bills, pre finding out like that, you know, you what you thought you had to pay is like 3 is one third of what you actually had to pay. And you do have the money. And yes, you worked the extra gig job. And yes, you made a little bit extra and you thought that little bit extra was going to go towards something new. And it did, but it's not the new thing that you thought. It wasn't like it was going to go towards something that I chose to spend it on, even though I did choose to pay the bill, right? And that still is my choice. But I just thought like that we had, it felt like I thought I took an extra step and it felt like I went 3 steps back. And actually I haven't taken any, like nothing actually happened. So although I felt like I had gotten ahead and then I felt like I fell behind, like those things didn't actually happen. It was just my perception of what I thought I was getting and how I thought I was getting extra and then how I thought that that was being taken away or being put in a direction that I didn't want. But in all of this, it's still me making choices. It's still me handling it. It's still me capable to handle it. And it still doesn't put me in a dangerous situation. And like nothing actually is going quote unquote wrong. It's just not going according to my preference. And that's okay to admit that. And that's okay that it feels so uncomfortable. And that's okay that I'm crying on an episode and I hate it because I'm like, you know, I don't wanna feel like I'm, like, throwing a tantrum, and it's not that I'm not, I'm just sad because I had a preference and it blew up, and I have to feel all of it, you know, and so it just feels like there's a lot on the table that I am sharing, and it feels incredibly raw and uncomfortable, but it's all okay, and I'd rather share it than not because it's relatable, and it's something that we all go through. And it's okay that it's not always pretty, and it's okay that it's not always polished, and sometimes you feel incredibly messy, but that's just a part of it. That's a part of life, and we are fully capable of handling it, and nothing is going so incredibly wrong that my individual life is in danger. And so if my life is not in danger, then like there's still so much potential and there is, you know, there's more than my preferences and I can see more than just my discomfort right now. I can see more than just my preferences not going my way. And so, you know, that was a lot, but it feels good to just share where I'm at and to just show up where I'm at and to put that on full display despite my opinions about it and despite how uncomfortable it might make other people feel. because it is not what you may be used to getting from me.
Amanda, I appreciate you sharing all that so much. And I feel you, dude. There's so much stupid bullshit that we have to juggle, and the system is built in a way that is so divisive and it feels so overcomplicated and so big. And it's tempting to like separate yourself from that mentally and feel like, but if only the system was different. But like, we have to look at how we, like you said, are actively participating in all that. And yes, that's all within us and us as an individual and as a collective, like every end of the spectrum. And it is a lot. Like existing is intense as shit, but it's only overwhelming when you're holding on to an outcome, you know? And it's okay that you do that at the same time. And I do that all the fucking time. And little, little things like, oh my God, I was at my friend's house the other day and I I like opened one of her cabinets and her expensive bottle of perfume fell on the floor and shattered. And like those kind of moments, like I know that's so like when I zoom out and I look at how big the universe is and how nothing actually fucking any single thing that we do or that happens, like at the end of the day, it's insignificant. But to me in that moment, I was like, of course, I cried and I was like, I just felt so guilty. And I'm like, oh, there were, and yes, that was attached to ideas of like what I should and shouldn't do, or like, I don't know, like that being attached to me somehow as a person. And like, I broke her thing. Like, oh, I'm such an idiot. I should just go home. Like, I always do this. I'm so clumsy. Like, all these stories coming up. But at the same time, I recognize that shit doesn't matter at all. And it's just fucking confusing, but like all of the feelings are allowed to be there, you know? And I think it's beautiful to embrace that because like being everything doesn't mean being stoic and like always taking the perspective of being everything. Because if you're everything, that means you're also like every single individual thing. And so it's beautiful to embrace the experience of like the ups and downs of just being a human and going through these cycles of um like attaching to things and then realizing it's not it and letting go and growing in the process and just constantly processing, and there's no end to it. Like, and like you said, we're always going to feel alone in being ourselves, which yeah, when I think about like every single person on this planet and the fact that everybody feels that way and everybody's stuck with their shit and they feel like nobody understands, like it seems fucked up. And it's like I understand why like people cling on to religion for some sort of anything to feel like humans are being looked out for. But like no, we're really all just out here, but at the same time we've been doing it this whole fucking time. And although we feel limited, um, we constantly are surprising ourselves with how we're able to show up and like what we're able to accomplish. Like, if I saw myself right now, like from the perspective of myself in high school, like I would be flabbergasted, but I would be like, also, that's so fucking sick. I never thought I could do those things. And so I don't know. And it just leaves you nowhere. It just leaves you right here, now here, nowhere, right? Uh, but yeah, I love you, Amanda. I'm giving you a virtual hug right now.
I love you too, Jackie. And I'm so glad that you brought up, like crying from breaking the expensive perfume bottle and feeling like a bad friend, feeling guilty about that, and just the pressure and the weight, that comes with that. It's so common. Like we all do that over things that really don't matter, right? Like nobody's life was in danger. No one became homeless. No one went starved and went a night without food, but we put so much pressure on expensive things, right? Something that we value so much, and it's expensive in, monetary, cash value, and very very valuable in mental currency. Like we think of it as such a valued thing. We think of it as a valued thing, and therefore it becomes this super valuable thing. And I also really, I appreciate that you brought that up, and brought up our dependency on religion, right? Because if I also felt alone because I didn't want to reach out to family. I didn't want to reach out to my normal support system because I have an assumption about what they would say. And at least for my family, you know, um I know my mom would have been like, "Oh, just pray to God, and it's like, you know what? In this moment, fuck God. I don't want to pray to some fucking thing in the sky, or something in some fucking astral plane that I can't get to until I'm in quote unquote heaven, right? It's like I don't want to pray to someone to make me feel better. I'd like to just be honest about what I'm feeling, and in that feels like honestly feeling. I'd rather feel honest than feel better. And I don't need to pray to anyone or to anything. And so, I I love being able to share things. I don't want to depend on someone or something or some entity, because in the midst of feeling so like alone in like how I would have to handle this, I was crying as I was paying the bill, because I was reminding myself like I can handle this. I have the money to pay this. It doesn't put me out. Yes, we don't love that. We thought we had extra money, and the extra money is going towards something totally unexpected. Um, but we have it, and I'm fully capable of handling this. And so I don't need to rely on a God or another person. And as much as I would love to have somebody here to give me a hug in person, like as much as I would love that, it's not it's not necessary for me to handle the thing that I'm so upset about handling, right? And so it just feels like I'd rather your hug be the bonus to me handling what I know I can handle, than your hug being a distraction to feel better about what I'm not enjoying, or what I'm not, what I'm not liking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. It's like I don't need the support really at the end of the day, and it sounds cold, I guess, from one perspective, but on the other, it's like it's just realistic. Like as much as you can vent to somebody and, you know, relate to their experiences and empathize with each other, or just like be there to comfort each other, like still whatever it is you're processing is yours. And you can allow that to be the case. It doesn't need to feel like it's too daunting, or like you can't handle your shit yourself. And I definitely doubt my ability to handle my shit. I feel like everything in my life is so uncertain and like insecure. And I'm like, yeah, if I didn't work for a month or 2 months, I'd probably be homeless. No, I'm kidding. No, it wouldn't get that dire. But at the same time, it's like money is so fucking stressful, and like living on your own, there's so many different things to juggle constantly, and to think about, like, where I get my groceries and how much I need to buy, and like how to balance like health with fun, and like, oh, it's just like how to be prepared enough to handle like things like this, like when you get dropped with a fat bill. Like I always think about, like, what if I have to, like, what if I have to pay for something like really expensive in my car? Like, what if my transmission gets fucked up? What am I doing then? Hopefully that, if it happens, it'll be an experience that I meet as it presents itself. And just like every single thing that I've done in my life that I never thought I could do, I'll do it and I'll figure it out. And then my faith in myself will grow just a little bit more. But the doubt doesn't really need to be there for that to happen either. And you really don't need anybody else to hold your hand. It's nice to walk the path with people if they just happen to also be around, really. Like, and the friends you make along the way are one of the coolest parts of existing, because like we have that in common of just being alone and being everything at the same time, and how trippy and fucking confusing that experience is and paradoxical. And then also having to like participate in this society that's so rigid at the same time. Like, make sure you have a job and you also have a social life, and exercising semi regularly. It's like, where did all these fucking rules and expectations and bars and like stupid little fucking hoops to jump through come from? Oh yeah, I made them. Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Oh fuck, man. I totally am like, that was me, like that that is me, making unnecessary hoops to jump through, right? And so it's so easy for me to criticize like the highway, the transportation authorities of of the states of in the United States. But it's like I do that shit all the time for myself, where I'm paying unnecessary mental fees on bullshit, like I do that shit all the time. So that's why it was like, oh, this isn't so bad, like this isn't so bad, like yes, a preference of mine is not being met. And yes, I thought I was going to spend the money on something else, but a highlight, I made extra money and the extra money happened to go towards an extra bill that I didn't know was coming. And so, like when I took the little gig work, it was, just because I had chosen, to do it. I was like, sure, why not? I have the capacity to work a little bit more, so I'm going to do it. And I did, and it paid off because I didn't have to dip into the normal monthly amount that I make from work. So it's not like I had less money this month, it's that I had extra money and the extra money went towards an extra bill. And that's, like that's really convenient. Like it's really, I think that, now that I'm feeling less upset about it, it feels pretty cool. Like, oh shit, like yeah, there was an extra bill, but there was extra money. So that kind of worked out really nicely, So I'm like, that's fantastic. And and yeah, we were feeling a little lonely. And yes, it did feel a little overwhelming. And it was like, damn, like it's all on me, but it always has been always on me. And it's okay that it's all on me because I'm capable. I'm fully capable. I can handle it. I can learn. I can adapt. If something were to happen on the car, it's either we would find the money to fix it, or we're chucking the car, we're busing it for a few months. And then if the opportunity presents itself and we have a little money saved up, we'll buy another car. And that whole series of situation, that the series of steps in that situation for the hypothetical car getting chucked if we didn't have the money to fix it, that's okay to be in in that series of events. Like that's totally okay to go from having a car, being a car owner, to all of a sudden not having the car anymore. Like it's so amazing our the ability that I can see in myself to like to judge something so quickly and so absolutely that it makes it feel like I'm living a life that I don't want. And it's like, yeah, because my whole life became that judgment. So absolutely, life became unbearable once it became nothing but that judgment that is unbearable to live through. But, I don't have to. And I can recognize and go, "Oh, okay, there's that tendency again." And I gave myself space to just feel incredibly sad and upset and bothered. And then it was like, okay, but I'm crying as I'm paying the bill. It's like, yeah, but I still got to deal with it. I still have to. And so I'm like, tick, tick, click, 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 you know. and, and then here we are laughing about just crying like an hour ago about paying a fucking bill that I didn't want to pay, but I had the extra money to pay for the extra bill. So it's like, okay, feel the feelings, be honest about where you are, and then just be where you are until where you are changes because it's always changing. And so, it's not so bad.
Yeah. It's funny that it ended up working out that way, and it's funny how that seems to happen so frequently, like or things work out in a way that you never would have expected, but, like, they aligned in a way that was like, "Okay, there's some sort of intelligence happening here," like and it's cool that life will continue to surprise you in ways that are both positive and negative. And not just those 2 ends of the spectrum, but, like, everywhere in between, because this is one of those situations that, like, is kind of unclear whether it was a blessing or a curse, like, it happened, and there was a emotional reaction to it, but at the end of the day, it's dealt with, and now we can look back and laugh at it, and know that, yeah, even if things that we perceive as bad or unfortunate or just anything that is against our expectations for a situation, we know that we can handle it and it's actually not the end of the world as it may feel in one moment. But it's so beautiful watching how all of this just unfolds. And it doesn't really take effort for us to continue to exist. I mean, you're gonna exist regardless. Like all of the processing that you're going through, it's not really effortful, is it? Like we always think that we need to work on ourselves. But what does that actually mean? I think it you can't really speed up the processing. I mean, maybe by paying a little bit more attention and being really cool with uncertainty and uncomfortability, like maybe, but at the same time, like who's to say, like, how can you really measure growth in a way that's meaningful? You can't. It's just change. And like you're just going to continue to change and evolve, but it's not about like working on yourself to make yourself into something better, somebody that doesn't experience the highs and lows, somebody that's enlightened or detached or stoic or, is playing the game so well that they're just cool with it. I really doubt there's anybody who's existing today in the way the world is at the moment and are just completely neutral all the time. Not even the monks in the fucking monasteries. Ain't no way. Like, you think that priest is completely content with his life? No. Like, but they what they that spiritual teacher that you look up to. I'm not gonna call out Eckhart Tolle, but like, those kind of like guru people who kind of just put on maybe a little bit how stoic they are. And Amanda, I love that we're being emotional on this episode because even though we have the assumption that other people want a certain version of us, like the positive, uplifting, content, like just like happy go lucky version. That's not really that's not really true because at the heart of it, all of us are going through this, and so I don't know why we try and hide it. I don't know why we try and act like I don't know, that life isn't hard, that like we aren't emotionally affected by it. And I was actually talking to one of my other friends yesterday, and he was like opening up about some stuff going on in his life, like with his family. And he's like, I feel like I really can't talk about this with my guy friends because like they like it's just a different vibe and like it's not really common for us to like open up, like only maybe in one-on-one situations. And I think that's not just the case for men that we don't feel comfortable talking about our emotions. Like that's the case with everybody, but it's just so fucking sad that like so many of us, myself included, go around like having so many people around us and wanting to connect, but then feeling this pressure to filter ourselves to the point that we're not able to express anything authentically, really. And then we just feel more and more isolated from each other. Like it all ties into the perception of division and the idea of ourselves and needing to maintain that because otherwise we would just interact because there would be no stakes. And I think we would feel a lot less alone.
Absolutely, we would. I mentioned earlier in the episode that, like I was like wrapping up my crying portion of my processing, and I was like, I'm crying in front of all of you, and I hate it. And I said that. And it's because, there is this training that I had gotten that, like, you don't share your emotions, you don't put the burden of how you feel onto other people, that, that if you share how you feel, it's only with a selective few. And I totally resonate too with what your friend had said about, like, like, oh, I don't talk to my guy friends about this, not unless it's one-on-one is the exception, but because that's not the vibe. And it's like, you're absolutely right, because we all maintain that vibe. And so one way that I am able to make space for a new vibe is to go against my training and to share my feelings in a very public way, that it's, once this episode is posted, it is fucking out there forever. And I'm glad. A part of me is like not loving that, but a bigger part of me that I'm listening to is very excited that, putting yourself on full display is okay, because there is so much that we don't share, and there's so much we don't connect because we don't feel like there is space for that. Well, be the space for that. Change the vibe, you can't talk to your guy friends in a group setting, why not? I had thought before, we connected, Jackie, I had thought, like, maybe I want to ask Jackie for, like, maybe today we don't record an episode and it's just us chatting. And I seriously considered just saying, like, would you mind like not recording the episode and just chatting? Because, I just want to chat with a friend. And I thought, after I had thought that, I thought, yeah, but friendship isn't, it doesn't have to be so private, and there is a friendship not only between you and I, but between us and everybody that's watching this episode. Like, so, if you're watching this, in this moment, I'm considering you my friend, and I'm sharing something that I don't normally share in such a public way, because, sharing with friends feels like what I would like to do. And so I'm not thinking about this as like I'm sharing content on the internet, is I'm sharing something that I'm going through with my friends. And I can't get better. I can't become a better person, because that's not possible, you know, like there is no becoming a better version of you, but you can be more honest. I can be more honest about where I'm at, and I can be space for different vibes and different conversations if only I take that first step. And this is what it is, and it feels different, and it definitely feels uncomfortable, but it also feels incredibly fulfilling, and it feels incredibly I feel incredibly close as I'm sharing, and all I'm doing is being honest about where I'm at.
Oh, Amanda, yeah. I feel that. Um, and I'm glad that you decided to make that decision to, share with everybody. And I'm sure there's going to be so many people who resonate with this. I mean, I definitely do. I don't really fucking know what I'm saying right now, to be honest with you.
No, no worries, but I definitely wanna take a moment to just re-encourage everyone to, like, you know, the guy that was talking to you, like, you don't talk about this in groups, start straight up.
Oh yeah, that was the idea that I had churning in the background of touching on next. Thank you, Amanda. Of being that new vibe. That's what we're creating, that's what we're embodying. And that's what I feel like dualistic unity is just what if we all stop pretending, right? And we just show up as we are, whatever that may look like on any given day, and be comfortable with sharing whatever that is without trying to filter it or present something or impart some wisdom or to put on any sort of facade whatsoever, like. And that can be very jarring for people who are not comfortable with themselves and are at a point where they're clinging on to a lot of false certainties and ideas about themselves and others and expectations of the future and of themselves. The conversations that we have or the vibe of sharing your emotions. Like, I'm sure if my friend were to just one day, like when they're all just sitting around drinking beer, be like, yeah, so like I'm really struggling with my family issues right now. Like there might be some people who are like have a negative reaction to that or like make fun of him, but that's coming from them. And I told him, and I was like, sharing your emotions does not make you weak. It doesn't make you like any less capable of handling the situation. And nobody's going to think about you differently. If anything, they'll probably just have more respect for you and just more depth of appreciation of like who you are and how you still show up with a smile on your face every day, you know? So, yeah. Uh being that new vibe is uncomfortable as fuck, but it feels free and the ability to connect through that is so beautiful. So, I just appreciate you sharing all of that, Amanda, and being so vulnerable. And I'm sure there will be a day where I cry on the podcast. But yeah, I resonated when you were like, I was never taught to bring up my emotions or talk about them. I definitely wasn't either. And so sometimes it's funny because I feel that my emotions and my struggles and things that I'm going through is like a burden. Like when I talk to my friends about my shit, I have a tendency to like be like to like apologize, be like, "Oh, sorry for like killing the vibe." It's just a different kind of vibe. The vibe was not killed,
That's
okay?
right.
But like my programming is like, no, that's a burden and like you're taking up their mental space, but true friends want to be that space for each other. And it's funny that I feel that way about my emotions and yet I prioritize everybody else's emotions over mine and I'm constantly like assessing where everybody in the room is at and like if somebody's not having a good time, I feel like pressure to help and step in some way. Or like, I don't know, like if anything is going on with my friends, or I always assume people are mad at me, and I have to check myself and be like, okay, like calm down, you're fine. And so I found a lot of empowerment in like taking a step back in a situation and just being like, okay, whatever is going on right now, like it's not really mine. Like I don't have to get involved with it. And when that's the case, I feel like that's when you can share feelings in a way that's genuinely connective, because you're not expecting anybody to fix it for you, or you're not putting pressure on yourself to fix them. And then you can kind of just share. But like if there's expectation on either end, that's when the discomfort around emotions and like deep conversations comes in, because people don't want to open up and be met with rejection, like that's everyone's biggest fear, right? To open up and then have it be like, oh, that's kind of weird. But it's never really that weird. It's just that other person wasn't ready to, leave their ego at the door and like
Yeah.
have an honest conversation with somebody.
And a part of it will also be that, you bringing up your feelings reminds them that they're not being honest about their feelings to them. Not even that they even have to be honest about their feelings to you, but when I have spent a great deal of energy, like ignoring the way that I felt, I was uncomfortable when someone opened up, because it only reminded me that I was not opening up to me, that I wasn't being honest about where I felt and where I was. And so that definitely fueled a good chunk of my rejection of other people sharing their feelings.
Yeah, that actually reminds me. I have a friend who one day we were like getting brunch, and I was like going through a bunch of mental deliberation, kind of just like talking out loud, like sharing with her like what I was going through, but talking about my feelings about the situation and how I kind of was talking in a circle. And she was kind of like, "Can we just talk about something else?" Like, and then she apologized later for that, because she was like, "I'm sorry, to be honest, like sometimes hearing you talk about the things you're going through, and like to the depth of which you like process them, it's triggering for me, because I know that there's shit that I'm going through that I'm trying to ignore." Like she literally said that. And I was like, "Dude, it's totally fine. Like I completely understand too if I'm like chatting it up too much, you can tell me to shut up, because you're right. I was kind of talking in a circle, but like I appreciated that honesty on her end too, to be like, there's nothing wrong with you opening up and like sharing with your friend, and like I should be able to like be a sounding board, but in that moment it was just like reminding me of what's going on in my life, and it's overwhelming right now." And so that was an interesting situation, but I think it lends to that your point, which is like, yeah, sometimes your authenticity, your vulnerability, it's a mirror reflecting to other people the way that they're not maybe being authentic or vulnerable, or the things that they're suppressing, and also the way that they're judging themselves for that. And so it's like a double whammy of like beating yourself up. You're like, wait, but that person feels that and they aren't crippled by shame and they can talk about it? The audacity. The audacity.
They're not crippled by shame. I love that part. Oh my goodness. Right, right. I have thought that, because I used to think of myself and define myself as a type A personality. So I had like a built-in bias and grudge against type B people. It's like, fuck you, laid back motherfuckers.
Yeah. Didn't we talk about that with like the
I
stick
was
up the
just
ass? Like you can't chill with everybody else on the ground because you can't sit because you got that stick up your ass, and you're like, Damn, these lazy fucks.
Right? I got a to-do list, my type A to-do list. Like you fucking bastards, you know. But really, I was just jealous. I was just jealous, man, that they were so relaxed and they weren't like cursing themselves into some degree because I thought I made the better choice. I thought I made the better choice. Let's be honest, people. That's what it boils down to is that you feel like this like resentment towards people who make different choices than you if you judge that they are happier with their choice. Ah, but that is something to explore, and when we can be honest about that with ourselves, you know, it opens up so many other options, you know. It's like when I can admit that my choice isn't the only choice and that I could be just as happy making any other choices, it's like I've unlocked all these infinite doors, you know. But when I told myself that a certain choice, a certain particular door was meant for me, I mentally locked all those other doors. So there's no way that I could have walked through them. And now it feels like just being honest about how I could have picked another door and I could have been just as happy or I could have made the most of other doors. It feels like it's unlocking them. And it feels like I'm giving myself permission to walk through all these unlocked doors that I didn't have to deadbolt shut.
That was a beautiful image and so true. That's what certainty gets you, or a false sense of security. Clinging on to that gets you less possibilities. That's the reality of it. It doesn't guarantee you any outcome. And we know that because throughout life, we're constantly reminded that what we want or what we expect isn't reality. And so it's funny that we're constantly reminded of that. And yet we still believe that, a certain way is the right way, a certain outcome is what should happen. And if not, then it's the devil's work. Like it's the end of the world, or I don't know. Like that certainty is more of a curse than a blessing. And life can feel a lot more intense when you're just chilling out in that uncertainty. But I like to think about, have you seen the movie Surf's Up
That's an
with the
animated
with the
movie with
with
penguins.
the penguins surfing?
I have not, but I do know of it.
Wait, you need to watch that movie because there's this character called Chicken Joe. And Chicken Joe is like just this surfer guy. He just very much goes with the flow, and in the movie he gets into like super dangerous situations and he's just like chilling in the uncertainty, and it makes him like actually a beast. Like he's one of my favorite characters, and like you could just have that sort of approach to life here where you're like, yeah, man, like just kind of rolling with things as they happen without really letting it get to you, like really like letting it super affect you. And it's okay if it does, but like even just the initial recognition that like what you wanted to happen was never reality and you're still here and you're still okay, like even that initial realization changes the intensity of the way that you go through cycles of like attaching to things and then letting them go, and the intensity of your emotions as you're attaching to things, because even as you know that you want something to go a certain way, like in the back of your mind you're like, okay, but it might not, and it might not, and it's okay, and I'll be fine. And so when you know that, it's really any sort of situation that presents itself is a little bit less scary. And it's not certainty, false certainty by any means, but there really is something to just having faith in yourself. It's the best you can do. Like, you can't know for sure, but you know you'll give it your best shot. And usually that's enough. Usually that's more than enough. And even if you have to give it a couple shots, without judging yourself into stagnation, like you can kind of just keep flowing through and figuring things out as you go. And it can all be just a little bit lighter. And it's funny when I feel really tapped into that state, it's just like I feel like I'm at my best. And I also think about something I learned in my psychology classes in college, like that, like our initial snap answer to something is usually the most accurate, or like insights that kind of just drop out of nowhere, or like problem solving, it usually works best when it's not really effortful. That's when you're at your best, is when you're just trusting in yourself and acting. And, there are limits to that, maybe. Like, there are certain things that you want to do instantaneously that can be hurtful. And, like, the more awareness that you build within yourself, you can sort of see that. But also, there's nothing wrong with making mistakes and learning from them at the same time. And that can be a more efficient way of processing. And yeah, I'm sort of trailing off into I don't know where the fuck land. So I'm gonna pass the baton.
I love what you said, Jackie. It makes, like we do let so many things get to us, and it's only because we think that it shouldn't be, that things should be different. It's making things so much harder instead of just handling it and moving forward and going with the flow like you said. It doesn't have to be something that gets to you if you're not holding on to the it. What's getting to you? Oh, you mean that thing from fucking an hour ago that we've already paid for? It's already done. Case fucking closed, So it's way better than being still upset about something not going the way that you wanted it to and holding a grudge. It's crazy. It feels like I hold a grudge against reality when I'm only upset because reality isn't the way that I thought reality should be. But somehow I think that holding the grudge is the best choice instead of just handling the reality that's here, instead of just making the most of what's here and moving forward. But no, I'd rather hold a grudge and be so upset about reality not being the reality I imagined instead of, and it's like, and then it leaves me no, when I'm in that mindset, it leaves me no space to appreciate everything that's here. Because if I'm not seeing what's here, I'm only seeing what's not here, my preference.
Yeah, it's so fucking pointless to resist reality just happening the way that it does. It's pointless to keep adding fuel to that fire, I feel like, once you recognize what you're doing. And it's okay that sometimes we do it habitually, but there's no point in making things harder for yourself and overthinking. Thinking doesn't do anything except make your experience a lot more cluttered, a lot more tense, and a lot more unpleasant. Like if you removed all the judgment, all of the frustration with certain outcomes, like your life would still look the same. Like your life is still happening regardless of the way you feel about it. And so it doesn't mean you should stop feeling, but it means you don't have to take the feelings as an indication of like where you're at. You're just always here. So any way that that looks is okay.
Right? You can
Yeah.
always do something where you're at, right? There's no point where you're in a moment of your life and you can do absolutely nothing. Like it's very rare. I can't think of an example myself, and if someone does, of course, share it. But in my opinion, there's never a moment in my life where I'm so powerless that I can't do anything. Like not a single fucking thing. It's like I can always do something. There's always an opportunity in every moment that I'm in. It may not be the opportunity that matches my preference, but that doesn't mean that it's not an opportunity. It doesn't mean that I can't still do something with it. Of course I can. And and then it makes it, or it feels like it's easier to let go of the preference when I see past the preference, when I see past the discomfort of not getting my preference. It's like I can see more than my discomforts because there's more to reality than just my preferences and discomforts. There's so much more. And I appreciate that. And so I am really glad that I feel more comfortable being honest about the full spectrum of feelings that I go through. And sometimes we don't feel certain feelings for a little while, but that doesn't mean that it's not on the table. Everything is always on the table. And so just shifting our focus can sometimes shift what you see. You shift where you focus on the table, and just zooming out a little bit, because I felt very zoomed in, at the beginning of this call. And although we didn't do, much crying, I still judged the little bit of crying that I did, but it was like, but I'm so glad that we just felt the whole spectrum, and that we were honest about not liking. We were honest that we had a preference, that we prioritized the preference, that the preference was not met, and that we were upset about that. And just being honest about that just naturally, effortlessly created more space. And I totally agree with you. And you were like, it doesn't take effort to be honest. It doesn't take effort to be reality unfolding infinitely. It does take effort to maintain a story. It does take effort to lie. It does take effort to maintain a preference. Absolutely. And the price is seemingly becoming too large, more and more so. And because the effortlessness is free, and that freedom that we can feel is doesn't have a fucking price tag on it. It's just, and if there's a way that our mind is so like, well, there's still a price. If there's a price, the price for freedom is honesty. That's it. But other than that, it doesn't take much effort to just be honest about where you are, because where you are is just where you are. And so being honest about that isn't, it doesn't feel like that's work. It's just like, oh, that's where we are. And literally that's all you did. It's just be honest about like, oh, we're there now. Okay. Sometimes it's like, oh no, we're there now. It's all of it.
It's all on that fucking table. But I love the image of like being real zoomed into the table, like looking at it with a microscope, and you're like, oh my God, it's all there is. And then in that sense, it's so fucking overwhelming. And you're sitting there like, and somebody comes around and be like, hey, there's other stuff on the table. Then you could be like, what, really? And then you're like, oh, you look back down, and you're like, oh, there's more stuff. And then that one thing doesn't seem so consequential. Oh my goodness. But um when you were I like the point that you made of like there's always an opportunity to make a decision. It's more like, yes, there is always an opportunity, but you're always making a decision whether you like it or not. And the pressure comes in when it's like your decision, and the decision has to have a certain outcome that you're attached to. But when you take decision making a little bit less seriously, because there's no right decision, it's just a decision and it has a ripple, and then you get to make a billion more the rest of the day. Like, even something as simple as like paying attention to one breath, or like how many breaths you pay attention to in one day. Like, that's a decision that you make. Or like what to eat, when to eat, how much water to drink, where you walk, what you do, what you ruminate about. Like, those are all decisions, and like, who's to say where they come from or why we choose one thing over the other? We really don't know. And we don't know the full scope of how they're panning out. So there's no use getting caught up on any single one and zooming in to the extent that we're missing the forest in the trees. Or is that how that goes? Like when you're too focused on one tree that you ignore the forest.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And it could, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're so zoomed in on a tree, you miss the entire forest. I like that.
Hmm.
Mhm.
There's some sort of saying, I've heard it before. I'm not just making that shit up.
No, I have heard it too, but I thought, I don't know if it went the other way either too. Like you're I don't know how you I don't know. I don't know. I know that it exists and I have heard it before. But are you looking it up right now?
Okay, yes, I'm looking it up right now. Okay, yes, an expression used of someone who is too involved in the details of a problem to look at the situation as a whole. And it's a can't see the forest for the trees. Okay.
I knew it existed too. I was like, I know. I'm there with you.
But like, what's the verbiage? I didn't know if it was losing the trees in the forest, because sometimes I feel like I do that too, and I'm like,
That's
oh shit,
right.
there's that task that I put off for months because I was too focused on the forest.
That's
Maybe
right.
need to deal with that tree. Because also all of the trees interconnect to make the forest, so there's some sort of maintenance. Like if you have a tree that's dying and decaying and like rotting, you should probably like cut it down or remove the roots before it infects another tree, right? Because it's all one organism.
Mhm.
And the trees kind of do that on their own. Like we don't need to be in there like really interfering. But we're both the trees and the forest and the people cutting down the trees
Right? I think
and all
they're
of it.
arborists might be
The
the term
arborists.
for the people that are like tree specialists. They study trees and regardless to like where you identify, we everybody can use a helping hand. Like you always can use help, but help isn't about controlling and it isn't about forcing a certain result. Helping is just paying attention to what's happening and making a decision about what's happening, as you're being honest about where you are in the midst of all that is happening. So I think that that is always possible, because I I know the tendency to when you hear someone opening up to think that helping them means solving the quote unquote challenge or problem that they're upset or venting about, but just showing up, just just being space and listening is it does a lot. And so, a lot of times when someone asks me like, is there anything that I can do, my tendency is to say no. But I guess a one thing that I might phrase it as going forward is just, just you listening now is helping. I think I'd like to start saying that because I'd like to highlight how much listening does, even though it doesn't really feel like such an active thing that the listener is doing, but it matters and it means a lot.
Yeah. And that just goes to show like how we're doing more than we even realize just by being ourselves. And we don't understand the impact that we have on other people, or, like just by being space, like even in a room of people who don't know you and you don't talk to anybody, like just your presence has an impact on some level, even if you don't understand it. And so, yeah. And I had a thought too when you're like, it's okay to allow people to help you, but don't expect it or don't rely on it. Just know that you are fully capable of handling any situation with or without help. But at the same time, when you expand the idea of you and what you consider to be yourself, to not just be this individual, to understanding that we're all the same self. And so it's natural for us to work together. And there's no shame in it. We're just so fucking individualistic, I think, at least in the United States, that like we just think we need to do it all ourselves. And yes, at the end of the day, we're the only ones who are ourselves and understand our experience fully, and we're the only ones we're going to have at the end of the day. That is true. But at the same time, we're not just us. And so we don't need to feel this pressure to just be this little thing and make the little thing the best that it could possibly be. Like it's about balancing the considerations of the individual and the collective because they're both equally part of you. They are both you. Like I am both Jackie and the entire fucking galaxy. It's so fucking crazy and trippy. Oh my gosh, and I love just walking through the world and being like, what is happening right now? Like where is this conscious experience taking place? Like obviously here, but it's like it's just so strange. Like it feels like I'm interacting with something else, but at the same time recognizing that it's all one thing. It's just very strange. Like feeling the way that I'm supported on my chair right now. It's I don't even know how to put words to the feeling. It just feels like I'm being held all the time. Like I'm just I've used the phrase me soup. Like it's all just me soup. That's what we're walking around in all day and interacting with. So other people are part of that too.
Mhm.
And we're meant to sort of work through our shit together or just be here together because there's nothing else really better to do or possible to do here. Like we're all stuck here together just experiencing. So why do we think that we should handle everything on our own? It's just kind of funny.
Mhm. And it's I love the analogy, the picture that you painted of like the me soup, and it's like, fuck, I'm the broth this whole time. Like, yeah, you are. It's all you, and so I love the way that you phrased it, where it's like naturally we work together. Of course, naturally cells in one body are working towards the same goal of living as as that body, even though they're zoomed in on one small piece of that body. Their overall goal is still to be the living, moving, growing, evolving body at all times. So it is important to remember and to remind ourselves of that it's not just little old me. It's, me, man, and it's everything, and we are all connected, and it just feels like you naturally lean towards, of course, we're all in this together. It's all us. It's all one. It's all just, one reality expanding, evolving, growing as that one reality, and everything in that reality is connected, and it makes a lot of sense. And it's also very easy to forget when I'm so zoomed in on being one asteroid flying through space or being one human on this quote unquote rock. Yeah, like it makes so much sense that I it's easy to forget the totality, the sum of reality when I'm so zoomed in on one piece of it. And I'm so glad that I get to experience getting lost and bursting my own bubble, and seeing that there's more than just my zoomed in view to consider, and that doesn't feel like it's a loss. Sometimes I would think like, oh, making considerations for other people feels like it's a disservice to me because they're not doing that for me, and it's like, yeah, on in that mindset, absolutely. But when you think every other person is you, making a consideration for yourself doesn't seem like a loss to you, at least not from that mindset.
Mm. Like yes, that perspective still exists. and there's more. Like, it's not just because there's more that yours is wrong or bad. It doesn't mean anything about you. Like, you're not stupid or immature because you cling on to what's the fucking word? Expectation? No. Preferences. Yes. Like, you're not any less of a person because you cling on to preferences and you're not. Because now, like, I have new bars for myself sometimes where it's like, I sometimes judge myself for getting caught up in stupid shit. I'm like, I still have this bar for myself, the pervasive bar of self-judgment that keeps getting higher and higher. And recently it's changed to like wanting to not get caught up in dumb shit because I see it for what it is now. And I'm like, well, if I really understood these things, I wouldn't still be letting it get to me like that. And I have to check myself on that too. And who knows if that judgmental voice will ever go away. I don't, I'm not betting on it because I know that, like, even though those thoughts are still there, that's not true. And so, like, I can let it pass a whole lot easier than I used to. But at the same time, it still affects me. And that's okay. And I'm honestly grateful that, I still have a lot of things to experience and growing to do and changing to happen. Like, I kind of want to stop thinking about growing as much as just changing. Like, I'm going to change a whole lot more. So that's exciting. And I don't want to have it all figured out at 23. Like, then what am I supposed to do for the rest of my life? Just be perfect? What? Like, that's first of all, impossible. Second of all, boring. So I'm kind of down for the disappointment and the uncertainty and the heartbreak and the tears and the messiness of it all. Bring it the fuck on. Oh my gosh.
Mm.
Yeah. And me just, being myself, processing my shit. It's like the cells in the body doing their necessary things, like just focusing on their piece and what's best for the individual cell or person is usually what's best for the collective as well. And I don't think there's any sort of concrete best, for everybody. But I would say the closest you could get is just authenticity, honesty, relaxation, and not making things harder on yourself. Like, stress does horrible things to the body. And it's funny, that's kind of like the bridge between our mental suffering and our physical suffering is stress, but like it's all fucking interconnected. Like, our body is consciousness. It's not like consciousness is happening up here somewhere. No, like our body is consciousness and our cells are consciousness and nature is consciousness. And consciousness isn't even the thing. Like, there's just not really another way to describe it. And it's all just the same. Like, there's no fucking division. Oh my God. All conversations lead to this. There's no division.
It's it does. A lot of times our conversations end up in this same s- point on the table, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's because there is a valiant effort to make it to other places on the table. All right. There is a valiant effort to explore the whole table and many efforts, expeditions have been started, and I think that that's wonderful. And when you were talking about the bar and how like the bar always seems to be that, the image that came to mind was like being born, and before you really noticed it, they've like drilled a bar above your forehead. So like every time you look up, you see the bar, and every time you grow, the bar, it just seems to like always be there. And you're like, God damn it, no matter what I do, that fucking bar, how can I pass the bar? And then you're talking to other people and they're like, oh yeah, you just gotta, like believe in this or trust this institution, and the bar disappears. Or the one thing that they say in heaven is like, oh, get to heaven, no bar, man, bar free, like there's no bar that you gotta pass in heaven. I'm like, damn, I gotta fucking die to get rid of this fucking thing, not realizing that it was installed, like it came with us. And so you're like, shit. It's like that image. It's like, no wonder it always feels like I can't pass it, because it's installed. And luckily I can have it removed, to when I notice that it doesn't have to be there, like the bar of judgment doesn't have to be there. And when you talked about like the judgmental voice, like will it go away? I don't think the voice will go away, but the judgments can. And so the voice in my head can go from "you're a piece of shit" to "yo, look at this. I just saw something really cool. Look over there." And so the voice just changes what it says, versus trying to get rid of the voice, because what you constantly hear are judgments.
I love that image. Yeah. Yeah, you it's like every day you spawn and you have the bar on, but then you could always take it off. Like once you realize it's on, you'd be like, "Oh, this thing again. Take it off." And then all of a sudden it's not there anymore. And it's just those neural networks and that patterning. But yeah, it runs deep as fuck since birth. Like comparison, ideas being projected upon us, expectations, all of that. And it gets deeper and more complex, as we get older. And so, like, I spent 23 years building these connections. They're pretty strong. And it'll take some time to unravel them. And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but like, it can change. Like, just because I judge myself now, like, and I'm not assuming the voice will always be there, but also like I'm not in a rush to fully like fix that, because it's not something that needs to be fixed or changed. Like it, because that is just the voice, from a different perspective, um, of just judging myself for something else, judging myself for judging. And so I could just let myself be in every way. That's it, just let it be. Like the Beatles were kind of onto something with that.
I love that. Just let it be, including yourself, including everything around you. And that's not to say that you don't make certain decisions to, you know, um quote unquote protect yourself when things do get like physically dangerous. And of course, you know, it's not forgetting the harshness that you can sometimes encounter in reality, but just reminding yourself that there isn't just lightness and butterflies and love and light, and there isn't just harsh crushing realities, like it's all there, it's all on the table, and you can handle it. And there's always an opportunity to make a decision in every single moment. There's always an opportunity to do something, to make the most of where you are. And the first consideration that you can that I can recommend is being honest about where you are. And sometimes, another consideration to make is why you're there to begin with, what drove you to be there. And sometimes that doesn't really reflect kindly on this perfect image that we've crafted of ourselves. And so you don't want to be honest about why you made a selfish decision, or why you were driven by selfish preferences to get to where you wanted to be, or to end up to where you happen to be in this moment. um because that contrasts with the perfect idea of I'm a good person. Good people don't do that. Oh, I'm, an honorable person. Honorable people don't do that, and you don't wanna be honest about the times where you were selfishly driven or your preference had a selfish end goal. And that's a part of it, but that is an opportunity nonetheless for you to be honest about what drives sometimes what your decision making is. So, it's all on the table, and when you don't handle it, when you it gets to you. And when you're not honest with yourself, that gets to you. And there's really no other way to find, that inner peace has always been available to you, that things didn't always have to be heavy, that things didn't always feel heavy. There's no one on earth that I've ever met that has ever been like, my life has been nothing but nonstop unbearable moments back to back. Shit changes, including things feeling shitty, including things feeling amazing. Things are constantly changing. And so it's like, be honest about where you are, why you may be where you are there, and make the most of what's available to you. Because I certainly have spent a lot of time trying to feel better, and feeling honest or honestly feeling is not the same as feeling better, but it does feel incredibly free. And so I highly recommend it to myself and to everyone who is also, this reality with me. So it's like, I can't say that being honest will always feel great, but it'll feel free. And that's something different than feeling better.
Yeah, freedom is freedom from freedom from better or worse, right? Like freedom from judgment. And then in that space, you just are what you are, and things are what they are, and there's something to be appreciated about everything. And so in that space, everything makes sense, and like everything has its place, even the things that you hated in the moment, things that hurt you, like they all were informing each other, and they were all perfectly appropriate. And I have peace with all of that. And yet every single day I'm still gonna get caught up in shit. But that's all of that. That's okay too. Even that. And yeah, this has been a really fun conversation, Amanda. I think this is a good spot to wrap up because really there's nowhere else to go but here. And once we get back here, it's like, okay, well, maybe I could just shut up now and and be here.
Let's go do some things, right? It's time to go do
Yeah. Go fucking go get caught up in some more shit. I'm looking for shit. I'm like, where can I find some of that? Where can I find some of that good shit?
I smell some fresh shit a brewing. You're right. This is an excellent place to wrap up. Thank you so much, everyone. It has been quite the ride, and I'm so glad that we are all the ride, and I'm so glad we're here enjoying it as much as we can together. So thank you so much, and look forward to sharing more next time.
Love you guys. See ya.